Hello everybody. Welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing well. Hope you're all doing fantastic. Hope you're all remembering to take care of yourselves and drinking enough water. It's very important. And that you're all having a great day. Don't forget to follow me on Facebook. There's a link in the description below. A very big thank you to everyone who leaves a like and comments on every single video. I do thank you. You are helping out the algorithm a lot. And without any further ado, let's jump right into it. Another kind of weird news day. It's not bad. Once again, we tend to not get bad news, and I'm looking for wood to knock on. What tends to happen is that some days we might have news about prices falling, what have you, but usually nothing too insanely bad ever happens. And once again, that's not one of these videos. In mega insane ultra Power Rangers news today, MicroStrategy is back in the news. We haven't heard from them. It's been a whole 2 days. Isn't that crazy? Yeah, I know. Wow. Fantastic. MicroStrategy is famous for, in case you somehow missed it, buying up tons of Bitcoin. They are kind of not aware of the idea that Bitcoin is made for you listening to this right now and your friends and your family, and they want all of it. What they've basically been trying to do for a number of years is acquire a large amount of Bitcoin, and then we got news around November that they're basically trying to intensely front run the United States of America and kind of have more Bitcoin than the US says that they're even thinking of acquiring, which currently, at the time of me making this video, so saith Cynthia Lummis, is 1 million BTC. So a couple of months ago, MicroStrategy announced a brand new tactic. One of their normal ways of doing things is that they've been issuing debt against the company, or I think they were just using excess reserve money. Must be nice, right? To buy up Bitcoin. We were hearing that they were buying up 400 Bitcoin, 180 Bitcoin. That soon ramped up to 1,800 Bitcoin, then 12,000 Bitcoin, and now they're more or less famous for acquiring a good 35, 51,000 Bitcoin in one go. They mentioned that they're trying to basically do something symbolic, but it's just them buying something. And that is, this year, they're trying to accumulate $21 billion so that they can buy $21 billion worth of Bitcoin. And next year, they also want to accumulate $21 billion worth of Bitcoin as well. Really funny, because I've been saying this since January. MicroStrategy was in the news, and they did that weird thing where they were talking about that they were going to take a break or a hiatus from buying Bitcoin, and then the next 2 days they bought more. They were like, okay, we're going to take a break, and then they did it again the next week as well. They purchased several $100 million and $1.1 billion worth of Bitcoin. And I was like, I wonder if these are fragments of the 21 billion, I didn't know if it was just going to be 1 billion, 1 billion, 1 billion, 1 billion, and then collectively by the end of the year, it would equal the 21 billion. Now I have my answer. Strategy, formerly known as MicroStrategy, has announced plans to raise. That wasn't it. All the numbers that we saw before were not the big shebang. They've announced plans to raise up to $21 billion in fresh capital to buy more of the number one cryptocurrency. The company intends to sell a special type of stock called a perpetual strike. Okay. Preferred stock for Bitcoin purchases. So basically what they've been doing is they've been selling stock against the company and using that money to buy up Bitcoin, and or issuing certificates of debt against the company that basically says in 5 years we'll pay you back what's owed plus interest, and then they use that money immediately that they made to go buy more Bitcoin, like immediately. According to a prospectus filing with the US SEC, MicroStrategy has entered into a new agreement that would allow it to sell shares of its 8% Series A perpetual strike preferred stock STRK. That's the dumbest thing I've ever read. 8% Series A perpetual strike preferred stock STRK. Fantastic. Proceeds of the sale will most likely be used for buying additional Bitcoin. It's all that they've really been doing, so I'm not really expecting them to do anything else. As part of the agreement dubbed, they're calling it the ATM program. Oh boy. MicroStrategy will be selling STRK shares over time, potentially via a market sale, got it, negotiation transactions, or block trades. Wonderful. It says Strategy intends to use the net proceeds from the ATM program for general corporate purposes, including the acquisition of Bitcoin and for working capital, the company said in the SEC filing. Cool. So, yeah, I got my answer. I was wondering if the other $4 billion worth of Bitcoin that they were selling or buying over the course of the last 10 weeks was part of this. No, apparently not. They're still trying to raise another $21 billion. I have real questions as to exactly how much that's going to buy them and exactly what their actual goal is for all of this. They mentioned before that they would like, as a company, the company would like at least 1 million Bitcoin, but I feel like even the current they have 500,000 Bitcoin. Do you understand that? I feel like that's not all that they have. I think a lot of what we're seeing are through SEC filings, but I would not be surprised at all if there's a lot of also ETF buying that isn't required to have a filing because it's under a certain threshold if they're doing that every now and again. I wonder how many other subsidiaries also have Bitcoin from them. And also, don't ever forget this, Michael Saylor mentioned back in 2019 or 2020 that even back then he already had a 6-figure sum of Bitcoin. So not $100,000 of Bitcoin. He has over 100,000 Bitcoin. It's kind of like when we had news recently as well, we keep hearing about these countries or these banks who are buying, 1,500 Bitcoin, 2,000 Bitcoin. We just heard that the Japanese bank purchased 4,000 Bitcoin. These are the moments that I'm talking about. We are constantly funneled down some kind of like a news path where we are told like, hey, look at what that one company's doing. But when you add everything up, it's probably a lot crazier than we could actually imagine as far as like purchases and stuff like that. And these are, once again, to finish the thought, these are the companies who are required to actually register with the SEC because they're public and or they do these kind of like public filings through issuing debt or through their actual stocks. So when you talk about other countries, I wonder like how many of them are simply also like just buying and not telling. We had a lot of companies years ago who were like, I don't want to say the word desperate, so I'll say desperado, to get into the news. So they would always mention, this company and so bought 125 Bitcoin. This company, how many other companies don't want to be known? How many other companies have, bought 300 Bitcoin and haven't said? I would assume it's several hundred companies. So yeah, MicroStrategy's back in the news. I'm still hoping and wishing and praying that the rest of the world is able to acquire these coins before them. I am a very big believer in math and numbers and logic, and I do believe that Bitcoin is going over several $1,000,000 per coin in the future. I can't tell you when, but it will be a shame if it's just all owned by wealthy people and Michael Saylor. You know, would be nice to have an additional billion people on the planet also get some kind of wealth as well. That would also change the world a lot. Anywho, that's the MicroStrategy news. Surprise, y'all. And yeah, let's move on. Also in popular news, Ripple has signed a strategic partnership with BDACS, BDACS, a South Korean digital asset custody provider, to support institutional custody for XRP and the Ripple US dollar. The name of the game right now is that not only are institutions getting into the space, but they're kind of already here, and they're looking for people to basically custody their coins and custody their money. That was the beginning of a discussion back in 2018 when Coinbase and Gemini, I don't forget, back then they announced basically poo on every retail investor because the big money was coming from the institutions. And therefore, the only things that should actually garner any kind of attention were the institutions, and they would need some kind of a custody solution. So now, Ripple has basically, for those of you who missed it, I don't know how, has gone to other countries, and they also just recently received regulatory approval in Dubai and this country and that country, and they've been working with South Korea and Japan for a number of years. The idea being that while we currently see a lot of very large institutions getting into the space, Fidelity, Van Eck, State Street, BlackRock, that the domino effect is already taking place, and other companies, I mean, every company is smaller than them, but every company smaller than them is also looking for some kind of a custody solution, and therefore Ripple is stepping up to the plate. The partnership, announced at the end of February, will enable BDACS to integrate Ripple Custody, the company's institutional crypto and digital asset custody solution, to safeguard XRP, the Ripple US dollar, and other crypto assets for financial institutions in South Korea. It's actually quite genius, and it's a little laughable that no one else did this before. Every other company was just focused on the United States, and Ripple was, and I dare say is, still the only company who's making sure to go after the Asian market. It's a little weird that no one else decided over the course of the last 10 years to try and break into any of these markets. But alas, this is why, for those of you who do not know, why XRP is incredibly popular in South Korea and in and Japan as well. And here's the tweet for it right here. So yeah. Also very popular news. Anything with Ripple, anything with XRP rises to the top of popularity charts within the cryptocurrency space. They're doing amazing things. I'll repeat once again, it's a little childish and weird how anyone can be against Ripple or XRP or not understand the vision. And the fact that these people said that they were going to do all these things back in 2017 and they're doing them. And yet people still think that Pepe Coin, Tron, and all these other nonsensical things are the actual things that they should be putting their chips on. So, good luck, everybody, because logic apparently isn't a river in Egypt. So that's the Ripple news. And yeah, let's move on. Also sure, why not? Better late than never. Rwanda. Apparently, Rwandan regulators have recently unveiled a draft law regulating virtual assets in the African country. The release of the draft, which identifies the Capital Markets Authority CMA as the regulatory authority overseeing the virtual assets industry, is seen as a key step towards Rwanda's goal of regulating digital asset transactions. And I meant that when I said better late than never, because a lot of countries, for some reason, lied to themselves, several times over the last decade, and also lied to their citizens that nothing was going to come of cryptocurrency. I do not remember explicitly Rwanda being one of those places, but there were a number of Latin American countries, of African countries, and Southeast Asian countries whose leaders were basically telling them that crypto was nonsense, it was a farce, it shouldn't be used, it was illegal, they wanted it to be illegal. And I mentioned back in good old 2017, 2018, I said whichever countries really get this right first, that's where all the money's going to go. There's a reason why we're still having discussions about the countries that have a 0% tax rate on crypto. They got it right. That's the sweet number. The people who make the extra money in those countries, what they end up doing is they buy real estate in that country. Yeah, they further fuel that country's market. So a lot of places, and really, like this was big news in 2018. We're threatening to ban crypto, or crypto's over, or crypto, you can't do this. And it usually fell into two different categories. One, it was a country, once again, Rwanda is not part of this because this is the first time I remember speaking about Rwanda and ever in crypto. There were a lot of countries who are run by corrupt individuals, and they did not want these people basically to have crypto. The idea of enriching the lives of your citizens is like complete no-go in many places, like how dare you. The other side of it had to do with a lot of countries having a very weak currency. We got news for years that in Russia and India and China, a number of places in Africa and Latin America as well, a lot of people were choosing and still are choosing Bitcoin and crypto, and even in many cases stable coins, as an actual like means of getting out of the system that they're in. It happened in Turkey as well. There are multiple places where their currencies weren't just inflating, they were hyperinflating. So a lot of times, and the news was coming a lot from Latin America as well. It's still there. A lot of the news was that a lot of people are swapping their money into Tether and actually using it as a digital form of the US dollar that has relative stability compared to their local currency. We also heard a lot of stories of people throughout Africa and Latin America who were secretly mining Bitcoin in homes, basements, rooftop, I don't know, wherever they were doing it. Because it was like an extra source of income for them. Like, think about that. There was one guy I remember from, I think it was Venezuela. He was saying, this was years ago, from his Bitcoin mining, I think he was making roughly around like 70, 80 cents per day. Now, to me and you, because we are very privileged, we go, oh, that's not a lot. To him, it was enough to allow him, with his hyperinflated currency, to like completely feed his family and like get extra money to help him pay his rent. This is the power of Bitcoin. This is the power of crypto. This is why I keep saying I hope that a billion other people will like wake up and realize exactly what's happening, and that they have a chance to get some Bitcoin now before it goes to several $1 million per coin. Because, it's very important. We need more people to actually not be broke in the system. According to a local report, Rwandan financial authorities are hopeful the framework will help foster innovation while mitigating associated risks. The report quotes Karine, long last name, the CMA's manager of licensing and approvals, commending the release of the draft, which addresses concerns raised by the Financial Action Task Force, or the FATF. For those of you wondering what the normal concerns are as far as risks from allowing crypto within your country, is basically people swapping out of the local currency and swapping nearly exclusively into Bitcoin. Yeah, so it's the ended usage of the old system. It's people having Bitcoin wallets on their phone and tapping their phones and holding their phones near each other and doing transactions and not using the local currency. When you don't use the local currency and people choose to use something else that is decentralized and the government has no control over, if you will, well, it destroys the local economy. air quoting there, from the view and vantage point of the actual government, who doesn't want people to not use their system. So, yeah, it's cool to see that they're moving in the right direction, but I think we're going to have a very fascinating future when people actually figure out that for the last 15 to 16 years, they could have already been dealing in crypto by themselves just through the normal blockchain. A lot of these things, these bills, as they were years ago and as they are now, are basically trying to like set up like checkpoints for people using crypto. It's kind of like when Visa announced, for those of you who missed it 2 years ago, that they want you to send your Ether to Visa, and then Visa will then send that to another third party, and then the third party will then send it to your friend who you were originally trying to send it to. This is why all the banks are getting into it as well, so that the crypto transactions, kind of air quotes, go through the bank. So on your actual like mobile app or website or whatever, you they want you to custody it with them. And then when you send transactions, it goes through their system so that they can charge you an additional fee, as opposed to the world realizing, you can just do that yourself directly on the blockchain. You don't need extra steps. That's the point of crypto. That's the point of Bitcoin. That's the point of blockchain. So cool. I hope it works out. I hope they actually get proper regulation, because that will propel the country forward while other places around the world continue to essentially lollygag and not realize what's going on, which is a gigantic shame. I really wish more people paid attention. That's the Rwanda news. Moving on. In news I feel like we're supposed to care about, like I think we're supposed to be like jumping for joy at this news. Gemini, the crypto exchange run by the Winklevoss twins, Gemini has recently secretly filed for an initial public offering, otherwise known as an IPO, potentially trying to go public this year, with backing from Goldman Sachs and Citigroup. We do not hear as much anymore about Gemini. They are one of the crypto exchanges that was popular a number of years ago. It's more or less at this point Binance, Coinbase, Kraken, and Robinhood usually are like the top 4 at the top of the cryptocurrency trading transactions kind of list. But Gemini is also still apparently there as well. A lot of cryptocurrency companies are trying to go public this year, namely because of an idea of increased regulation, but also less regulation. So the SEC doing more to give the cryptocurrency space proper laws as to what they can and cannot do, but also making it a lot easier for cryptocurrency companies to also go further into the spotlight in a regulated manner. This is why we have heard about, oh gosh, what was the other one? Ripple's trying to go public. Gemini's trying to go public. There were rumors about Binance, but I don't think Binance will be doing it anytime soon. And there was one other major, what was it? It wasn't OpenSea. Was it OpenSea? I don't remember. Either way, everyone's trying to go public this year. Usual idea is that it will enrich the company and enrich all the shareholders in some sort of way. I think we have not yet gotten to the point where this is kind of saturated. In another weird turn of events as well, the cryptocurrency companies that we have in the space have kind of all like remained in their position. The only weird thing that happened before was the collapse of FTX. But every other company has kind of like maintained and survived. And I think that these are kind of the ones that everyone's more or less like betting on. So Gemini is also trying to foray as well. The IPO follows the SEC dropping their investigation into Gemini's Earn program and settling a CFTC lawsuit. The Earn program, for those of you who don't remember, under the collapse of FTX, we found out that allegedly allegedly, Gemini had ties to FTX, which they denied, but people came forward allegedly with proof. It was Gemini was connected to Genesis, and Genesis was connected to FTX. And basically, I think FTX and Genesis were creating liquidity or money for Gemini's Earn program, which basically allowed you to earn money on their platform. But when FTX went belly up, Genesis went belly up, and basically Genesis wasn't able to pay people on Gemini's Earn program. And that's where the SEC stepped in. So the last couple of weeks have been very interesting as the SEC keeps dropping lawsuits and investigations. But I do think that some of them were actually warranted to, like, I think people, the investors, wanted actual answers to a lot of these things and where their money went, because everyone was kind of standing up pointing at everyone else at the table. And a lot of questions have still gone relatively unanswered. Gemini is part of a wave of crypto firms, including Kraken, planning U.S. IPOs spurred by a more crypto-friendly stance. They filed for an IPO according to Bloomberg. I assume they'll do it sometime this year. A lot of the speculation is that a lot of these companies will go public by the end of this year and or the beginning of next year in 2026. Sure, why not? Like I said, I think we're supposed to be excited about this news. News like this, or even these companies going public, the assumption years ago was that it was major news for crypto because it would allow more companies to gain exposure, and therefore other people would hey, oh my gosh, they're a crypto company. Let me go buy some crypto. The reality is anyone who's in crypto is in crypto. Anybody who wants to get into crypto can get into crypto by a number of other means. We don't need Gemini to go public for people to be like, oh, I buy Bitcoin now. No, like they've been, the big money's already here. The only people who are really missing are retail investors. It's always kind of the same story over and over. So yeah, expecting still. The year is still young. I know it feels like we've gone through a lot together in the last couple of months, but there's still 9 months left of this year, which is insane to think about. There's a lot of optimism for the cryptocurrency market, where prices are going to go. Q2, April, May, and June, cryptocurrency prices skyrocketing. Bitcoin going to 400,000, XRP going to $20, Ripple going public, and you name it. It's all there. It's all on the table. Excited to see what happens as we move further along in this year and exactly how big, I don't know, things are actually going to get. So yeah, how fun. I think that's going to do it for this video. I hope you've all been doing well. I hope you're all having a great day, a great morning, a great afternoon, a great evening, wherever you are, wherever the heck you might be. I do hope that it is absolutely fantastic. Thank you all once again for watching, listening, liking, commenting, and supporting. And I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See you.